Today we are going to, just so you guys have all the right equipment, we're going to mix things up a little bit, and we're going to put in, not a lot, but a good amount of kicking today. So on your back, streamline kicking, and we'll kind of go over, as we get into it, I'll go over it with you guys, kind of some proper form and some different ways of which you can, kind of do this kicking to make it a little bit easier, if need be. But it's going to follow a pretty similar format to what we've been doing. Same kind of arm circle warm up. We'll get into a little bit of a preset to set up form and kind of get everything loosened up and feeling good, especially through the shoulders, through the chest, through the back. And then we'll go into our main set of the day, which again is going to put in some kicking on the mat. And if anyone is having issues with that, with your back, if you have too, it's not easy enough for you to do that kind of on your back kicking, you could also mix in some planks. So that's an option as well, if you need to mix it up. All right, so we're getting into it here. Let's get up. We're going to kind of go through our same warm-up. I'm going to move my screen.
Just a quick question on the kicking. Can we do the kicking on the bench, being on the belly?
Yeah. Absolutely. You could lie right on your bench to do the kicking, kind of keep your feet over the edge. And for sure, as far as using the bench or not using the bench today, the preset will be the best opportunity for the bench, just because I like that for the pre as well, because it lets you set up form a little bit more and just kind of focus on what you're doing with your arms. With the main set, we're going to be kind of playing with the tension a bit, so it may be a little bit easier to stand, but by all means you can use the bench and adjust as needed to as we go through that as well.
Okay.
All right, so as I mentioned before, we've got the videos that you guys have in your libraries, have the warm-up in it as well that we do a lot. The email went around, I think it was last week, with Matt Dixon doing our swim band warm-up and our just even a swim warm-up you can do before getting in the water. And that's kind of what we've been sticking to the last few days, and that's what we're going to do here again today. So again, it starts, actually I don't hit anything. Some nice slow, actually go ahead, let's start back. Let's go reverse today. We're going to go just right arm, about 10 circles, going backwards. Doesn't have to be super slow, but we don't really want to start flinging our arm over our head right off the bat. And again, this backwards arm circle, as you come back, you can kind of feel it opening up here across your chest, right through here. And again, it'll be about 10. Try to stay nice and square as we do these. You don't want to be shaking your body all over the place. And then we'll switch to the other arm. Just feel the stretch across the chest. You can even kind of start to feel it if you've been doing a lot of the bands like me. You can start to feel it through the back of the shoulder there. And we even talked about that the other day, as kind of being a sore spot as we do these band sessions. So about 10 going back. And then we'll switch to the other arm. We'll go forward this time. And again, this is where we start to feel that stretch more up through the lat and into the tricep on the back side of that shoulder as we come around. Try not to swing our body side to side, but just stay nice and square. Do about 10 on this side. And then we'll switch to the other side. And kind of just accelerate through, a little slower over the top, but just greasing the wheels inside the shoulder a little bit. All right, we're gonna move back to forward arm swings, or keep the forward arm swing, sorry. Double arm at the same time. Again, you can kind of add a little bounce in there if you want to. You can really start to feel this across the chest, even in the back as the arms come together over the top. Really, if you're like me, all of a sudden realize how just not flexible you are as you do these. And then we'll switch to reverse. And again, really kind of feel that open up across the chest, across the front of the shoulder as we move through the reverse motion here. This is the one where I really notice is I can't quite get my arms back. But that's okay, something to work on. All right, so we're gonna take this motion and we're gonna take it as we come around and we're gonna go right up into a streamline. Again, nice and tight. Squeeze right over your ears. You don't want your arms to be behind your head when you're doing a streamline. I don't know if you can see here. You want it to be right over your ears. The idea is when you're going through the water, your hands are breaking the water for your head. So if your hands are behind your head is still hitting the water. So good practice, but right up, you can kind of stretch side to side a little. Again, we want to kind of feel like The ceiling is almost lifting you up towards the ceiling. There's a rope attached and just kind of stretching your whole body out. And we'll kind of hold that for a little bit. And right when you start to think this is a little bit uncomfortable, we'll go into our alternating arm swing. So one arm forward, one arm back to the top, and then we switch to the other side. And this is, again, one of those where I have to remind myself not to turn my body too much, and I did it right off the bat. I always do. Just kind of try to keep it nice and square as we do it. Yeah, it takes a little bit of coordination, a little bit. You know, after this, we can practice with rub your belly, pat your head. All right, let's go back up, streamline again. And just stretch and shake, and really, this should be a little bit looser this time around as we go through it. And really stretch it up and stretch it out and kind of feel like your whole body's getting elongated here. And I like to just get this little side stretch just to get a little bit extra stretch through the lats here and through the back before we get going. And then we'll do our opposite arm swings. We just do about 10. And if you really struggle with the opposite arm swings, you can just kind of do a double arm swing or do one arm and then do the other arm. That's all right. Okay, we'll finish this up here and just kind of shake it out. And we're maybe feeling a little bit tight already in the shoulders, but a good one. Another one is, I think Matt had this one at the end of his video, is bending over to the side and just doing these swings. And that's where you can kind of get the twist in the body a little bit more. Good. And just shake it out. All right, I got my workout here. Okay, so we're going to start with our preset today. And our preset is going to look like this. I'll try to keep this together as much as we can. We'll count strokes for the pre, and then as we've been doing, we'll switch to more of a time-based main set, just so we keep everybody together and keep us all in sync. But for the preset, it's going to look like this. It's going to be, again, it's about setting up form. It's about just starting to feel good as we apply the pressure. We don't want to have too much tension right off the bat and just put too much stress. It's just like a warm-up or a preset when we're in the pool. We're trying to find our stroke and find what feels good and just kind of continue the warm-up and bridge it, the warm-up arm circles, bridging that with the main set. So today what we're going to do is we're going to start with we're going to do 5 double arm pulls. Remember, tips are down, elbows go high. That's the first motion we make. And that's, you just feel the tension just kind of right through here. Tips keep coming down, elbows stay up, and then we push through under our body. And that's why, you know, with the bench is a good alternative, maybe not a fit ball, because as we pull down through here, or if your bench is too wide, it could pose a problem because we want to be kind of pushing underneath our shoulders, underneath our arms, right through the back, straight arm, all the way through. So we're going to do, when I don't start quite yet, but we're going to do 5 double arm pulls, and then we're going to go right into 15 seconds of kicking. We're going to do 10 double arm pulls, 30 seconds of kicking, 15 double arm pulls, 45 seconds of kicking, and then 20 double arm pulls and a full minute of kicking. So I will count you guys through these first 5. I'll get you started on that first 15-second kick and just kind of do that one with you, so it can give you kind of an example of what we're looking for as we do the kick in proper form and ways to do that. But we'll get started. 5 double arm. I'll count these first 5, and then we'll kind of let you guys count as we go on from there. But we'll start out 5 double arm. Again, these should be deliberate, slow, not too much tension, and don't rush through the stroke. We'll do right now. We'll start with 5. Let's go 1, right to the back, slow back up to the top, 2, back up, 3, back up to the top, 4, and 5. Good, good. All right, and you can drop the chords. I'll try to get my screen here so a spot where you guys can see. And onto our back. Now with the kicking, again, a couple different options. The easier option is you are right here on your shoulders, or on your elbows rather, and your feet come up. You can see my feet. And you want your toes pointed just off the ground. You don't need to be up here. You don't need to be huge. We don't want to be bending our knees. It's like when we're in the pool, that kick comes from our hips. The knees stay relatively straight and the toes stay pointed. Another option is you can be Sorry about the glare there, guys. I apologize. Right on your back or streamline over your head. That's kind of the more advanced way of doing these. But we'll do 15 seconds of kicking. And let me get my stopwatch going. We will start that right now. Good. 5 more seconds of this. Okay, and stop. You guys can hop up, grab your bands. And this time we are doing 10 double arm pulls. Now, as we work through these double arm, if you want to start adding, I'll let you guys get going when you're ready and you're set up and go right into it, 10 double arm pulls. As we progress through the pre, you can start to add a little bit more tension if you would like, just to kind of get a little bit more going. And we're doing 10 double arm pulls. Once you're done with those, you can drop the paddles and find your way to your mat, and then I will get us all started together on 30 seconds of kicking. And a good question from Tiger said, when you're kicking on your back in the streamline, is your entire back on the floor? It's depending on flexibility. I lack that flexibility to be able to lay completely flat. Ideally, yes. You can add an extra little element is if you lift your shoulder blades off the floor and you're doing the kick, that kind of, you'll feel that engage the abs a little bit more, particularly your lower abs. For this, it's kind of what is comfortable, really. If you're able to lay flat in a streamline and just have your feet off the ground, then that works, yes.
Okay, yeah, I just didn't know. It was more like I didn't know how far, like how far forward I should be sort of doing the crunch portion of it.
Right, that crunch portion adds a little bit of an extra oomph as we're doing this. But you know, if we're working on streamline, then we want to be flat on our back. Yep. Okay, so we will get going. 30 seconds of kicking, and we will start right now. Good job. Good job. You're halfway there. Now, this is one of those too, if you've kind of got your hands in the streamline and you realize halfway through that it's becoming a bit of a struggle, you can always move to one of the easier positions as we go through this. There's no need to hold the hardest position all the way through if you're breaking form. Okay, and rest. All right, find your way back to the paddles. We're going back to the double arm pulls. Again, you can add a little bit more tension here as we're working through. We're up to 15 double arm pulls. We still don't want to increase the tempo too much. When you guys are set, you can go ahead and get started on those 15. This is still about setting up form, feeling good. Again, we really want to be more deliberate with these pulls as we're working through and making sure you're finishing all the way through the back and kind of getting that pull up high at the front and then finishing all the way through the back. We're doing 15 this time around. And as you guys kind of finish up those, you can drop the paddles, find your way to the mat, and we'll wait a little bit until I can kind of see that most everybody's ready to go. And we'll start the next kicking. So again, there's no need to rush through this first part here at all. Good. All right, so yeah, this time we'll start here in about 10 seconds. We've got 45 seconds of kicking. So I would, as I said, I would much rather you position yourself to an easier position as we do these kicks. If your form starts to break down, if you find yourself not able to kind of keep those legs nice and straight, if you're having to bend the knee or if you're having to rest, I'd rather you just kind of make it a little easier so that you can hold that position. But we'll do 45 seconds of kicking starting right now. In that form, remember, toes are pointed. You don't need huge kicks, just soft little flutter kicks. Try to keep the knees straight. It's just like when we're kicking in a pool. When we kick in a pool, we want to think of the kick is coming from our core. It's coming from our hips. It's not from bending our knees. But nice straight kick. It's looking great. We've got 15 more seconds. Get a little longer here as we work our way through the set. Okay, and rest. Nice job. All right, find your way back to the stretch cords. We are on our last little round of this, this preset. We are up to 20 double. Again, you can add a little bit more tension if we want here as we've kind of gotten warmed up. We should be starting to feel a little bit better, a little bit looser. But again, we don't want to rush through these. I want the tempo slow. Still finding the stroke. We want to be deliberate with these, making sure form is perfect. I have a nice neutral head position. You know, I say this every time, but it's just like, you know, if you're swimming in the pool, it's like if you're swimming wearing a snorkel, that nice neutral head position. So you're not straining your neck, looking up at where your cords are coming from, but you're also not tucking your chin in and looking down your body. We're going through 20. And just like before, as you finish these up, you can drop the cords and just get ready for that last little bit of kicking today, or in the preset. Plenty of kicking still to come. All right. Good, good, good. All right, so we'll get started in about 10 seconds here. This last little bit of kick. Again, this time it's for a minute. So, you know, don't be afraid to alter, make it a little easier to keep those legs kind of off the ground and nice and straight. All right, full minute of kick starting right now. Toes are pointed. Good. Again, nice soft flutter. The full minute here. He's looking good. You're halfway through right now. As I said, as we get through these kicking, we're going to do quite a bit more, not a lot, but we will be doing some more kicking today. So if anyone's starting to feel that to be a little bit too much in the hip flexors, we can alter out for some other core exercise. We could do some plank, whether that be high plank or low plank. But I will leave that up to you if this starts to be a little bit too much. We've got 5 more seconds. Okay, and rest. All right, we'll take a little break here in between these sets. You know, just really make sure you keep loosening up, shaking out the arms. Just take a minute and stretch. Get the triceps loose, coming across the shoulder here. Because this, again, this is where we really start to feel these bands, is through the tricep, through the lat, right behind the shoulder here. This is always a really kind of a tight spot, I find, with the bands. Maybe even feeling it through the chest and through the pec a little. The important thing is as we do these, you guys have to be kind of gauge how you're feeling as we go through, and don't be shy and don't be afraid to, you know, understand if maybe it's a little bit too much. We've kind of been progressing these sessions a little bit as we're going, and I know some people are jumping in for the first time, but I'm pretty sure everybody's been doing them at least to some extent on their own with the workouts that have been put into the libraries. Quick question. Someone asked if you could actually get the same benefit of the kicking but laying on your stomach. You can get benefit out of it. It's slightly different. It's still core, but it'd be like comparing doing crunches to laying on your stomach and doing Supermans. So you will certainly feel it in your lower back a little bit more, but that is an option if you wanted to kind of try to rotate through that. If you're on the bench, you might not feel the stress so much, but at least you're still getting that kind of kicking motion in between. So that could be an option as well if kicking on your back proves to be a bit too much. All right, so our main set today, instead of giving it to you guys all at once, we're just gonna go through it piece by piece. But essentially, this first little part, we are starting out with, we're gonna go 3 times 1 minute. And we're gonna do 30 seconds rest in between each 1 minute interval. Now, we're gonna start out alternating, single arm, just like we're swimming. With this, think of the tension. I want it to be at what would be like a 75-ish% effort, somewhere around there tension-wise, but I want the tempo to be up a little bit more today. So think about accelerating through that pull. So when I say tempo up, I don't mean necessarily just going faster. What I mean, you know, moving your arms faster and faster. Think about more of accelerating through more. So it's more of an acceleration. That's the high tempo, as opposed to doing this faster and faster. It's that part of it is where the increased tempo comes. So you're pulling through faster than you would be otherwise. So we're gonna go a full minute. We're gonna start by going single arm, alternating at a higher tempo at about a 75% resistance. But the last 15 seconds of this minute, we are going to take a half step or maybe a full step back and switch to double arm. And I wanna see tempo still up, a double arm, power to finish this minute off. So it's gonna be 45 seconds of single arm right into 15 seconds of a power, kind of more of a power stroke double arm. And I'll tell you guys when that comes up. But it's gonna be a 1 minute on, 30 seconds off, 3 times through. We will get started here in about 20 seconds. Once again, I want the tempo up, which means we're accelerating through that pull faster, not just moving your arms faster, but accelerating through the back end. And it should be about a 75% tension or effort on this. But here we go. We will get started in 3, 2, 1, begin. This is single arm with a higher tempo. So we accelerate all the way through, push that hand through past your hip. Shouldn't be a huge tension, like I said, about 75, so it's not easy, but certainly not the hardest we're gonna do today. And I will give you guys the cue coming up in about 20 seconds, where we will take about a half a step back and do some power double arm pulls. Again, with accelerating through those pulls with a little bit more kind of gumption as we kind of work through that. Yeah, 5 more seconds. Okay, and switch to double arm. Kind of our finisher here on the minute. Make sure, nice straight arm, extend all the way through the hip. And rest. All right, as I said, we've got 30 seconds rest, and we're gonna do that 2 more times, 2 more times. You're gonna get going in 15 seconds. Same thing, minute straight at about a 75% tension, higher tempo. The last 15 seconds, half step back for double arm. We're gonna go in 5 seconds. Okay, and begin. This is that 75% tension, single arm. Again, tempo up, which means we're accelerating in through the hip. Let me see here. I think it's George. Make sure you push into that straight arm all the way through. There you go. We want to have kind of a nice straight arm as we finish that pull down past the hip. Looking good. We've got 10 more seconds of the single arm. Okay, and double arm, begin. Last 15, take a half step back. These are power strokes as we kind of accelerate through the back now. Some powerful double arm pulls. 5 more seconds. Okay, and rest. Good, good. All right, got a 30-second break, and we're gonna do that one more time. Starting to feel it just a little bit. Okay, we've got 10 seconds. One more time through that 75% tension for the single arm and some power strokes as a finisher on the end. 5 seconds. We're gonna go with our last one. Okay, and go. Really try to accelerate that pull. So you find the catch at the top end. You drop the fingertips down, that wrist stays above your fingertips, stays underneath the elbow, and as that fingertips and wrist get to that point where they're under your elbow, you really start to speed up that pull and push through the back end. And again, make sure we're finishing all the way through the back end. We don't want to stop short. We've got 10 more seconds of the single arm. Half step back and double arm, go. Last 15 seconds, finishing strong. Okay, and rest. All right, so I want everybody to drop the cords, find your mat, and we are gonna go right into 30 seconds of kicking. So drop the cords, get down. We'll get going here in about 10 seconds. Got 30 seconds of kicking. And begin. Point those toes nice and straight. Just keep the feet off the ground. 10 more seconds. Okay, and rest. All right, good. We will take a little rest here, a little break before moving on. Now, one thing I want to take while you guys are resting here, let me grab my paddles. My cords. You guys can see me. One of the things that helps, especially as we're doing the single arm, and it's just like swimming, is it's trying to find a rhythm as we're doing these cords. Let me see if I can move this just a tad. And with that, what I mean is sometimes it's easier, instead of just pull, rest, particularly when we're going a little harder, find that rhythm. So it's just kind of like a swimming rhythm, right? So this arm is starting as this arm is coming back up and vice versa. So you're finding that stroke rhythm as we pull through. I find it a little bit more taxing, a little bit more difficult if you're waiting for your other arm, particularly on your core and your lower back. You'll start to feel it more through here if you're waiting for your arm to get back up to the top before starting your next stroke. So try to find it like a swimming rhythm, like a swimming stroke. All right. We will get started with the next part of the main set. I love pyramids, so we're going to kind of come back down here. And this one's not really a pyramid. It's more of a reverse ladder. But anyway, this time we're going to go, same idea. We are going 3 times 40 seconds with 20 seconds rest. But I want you guys starting out, actually, so the last 10 seconds are going to be our double arm. So it's going to be 30 seconds, single arm. But I want you guys to start at about an 85% tension. So starting at a harder tension than where we started with the 1-minute intervals. So we are going to do 3 times 40 seconds, starting with single arm at about an 85% effort. Again, the idea here is we want to keep the tempo up, high tempo, accelerating through. The last 10 seconds, we'll take a half a step back, and then real power, double arm, accelerating through. All right, we will get started here in about 10 seconds. We should be beginning at about 85% tension for the single arm with a little bit of a higher tempo, and go. And I will give you the cue for the last 10 seconds of that power. We take a half step back. Now, especially as we start getting a little bit harder and we kind of are working on higher tempo, the one thing to remember, especially as we try to find our rhythm, is we want to avoid the bounce, right? So make sure that we're nice and stable if you're standing. It's not an issue if you're on the bench, but nice and stable and not bouncing up and down. Okay, half step back and double arm and go. It's only 10 seconds now, so but it's powerful double arm. Should be quite a bit of tension on there at this point. Got 5 more seconds. And rest. All right, and as I said, we're only taking 20 seconds rest this time. So it's gonna be, we're kind of gonna go right through this. So shake it out if you need to. Have a quick sip. We're gonna do that again, starting at 85% effort, 30 seconds of high tempo single arm, right into that last 10 seconds of double arm. All right. Here we go, and begin. Let me see, who am I looking at? Tim Swanson. Make sure when you are recovering on your stroke, try to let the paddles come back up underneath you. We don't want to recover like a swim stroke. It's going to put a lot of tension on your shoulder as you come back. So try to let the paddle come back up following the same trajectory. There you go. Okay, 5 more seconds. Okay, half step back, double arm, go. Finish up these last 10 power strokes. Make sure you're finishing all the way through the back there. Pushing past through the hip. And rest. Okay, we've got one more time through that. If you guys take that half step back, you start doing those double arms really hard and you find that you can't finish all the way through the hip with a nice straight arm, take that half step back forward. I'd rather you make sure you finish your stroke all the way through than have too much tension on there. All right, last time through this 40-second interval, and go. Got 30 seconds straight here, single arm, about 85% tension. Tempo is up. Try not to bounce too much as we get a little bit harder. Got 15 more seconds. It's looking good now. Okay, half step back, double arm, power. Push right through the back. There we go. We're looking good. And rest. All right, everybody drop the paddles, find your mat. Drop the paddles, find your mat. We are gonna go 2 times 30 seconds now of kicking. 2 times 30 seconds. The first one begins right now, kicking. On our backs, nice and straight legs, toes are pointed. Kicking from the hips, engaging that core. Doesn't have to be huge kicks, nice little tight flutter kicks. 10 more seconds. And rest. We're going to take a short rest, and we're going to do 30 more seconds of kicking. 30 more seconds of kicking. We are going to start in about 10 seconds, and then we'll have a longer rest. All right, here we go. 30 seconds of kicking, and begin. Good, yeah. If you've got your hands up in the streamline, make sure you're squeezing over your ears nice and tight. If you need to adjust and move your hands lower, go for it. Got 10 more seconds. Nice straight legs. Okay, and rest. All right, we got a little bit of a longer rest here. Take this again, on the opportunity here to shake it out, stretch. Kind of start to feel that accumulating as we're working our way through, but get those triceps, those lats, chest maybe. Again, probably feeling it right through the back here. So kind of try to stretch those arms out before we go through the last part of our workout today. And you can probably guess where this is going. This last part's going to go by pretty quickly. We now have 3 times 20 seconds. We are starting out at 95%. So you guys should have a high amount of tension just to begin on the single arm. We're gonna go 20 seconds, but the last 5 seconds, you're kind of maxing out the tension, and it's just gonna be 5 seconds of hard double arm pulls. So you're probably only gonna be able to get in 3 or 4 of those hard double arm pulls, but really try to push through those nice and hard. And we will get started here shortly, but again, this is the last little bit. Here's the catcher too. We're only gonna do this on 10 seconds rest. So this is gonna go by pretty quickly. So it's 3 times 20 seconds. The last 5 is double arm. We should be starting at about a 95% tension, then max it out for the double arm to finish. Now with that said, again, I really wanna make sure that the form comes first here. So if you're not able to push all the way through past your hip with a nice straight arm, take a half a step forward. If your form is failing, then you've kind of gone past that 100%. All right, we'll get started here in about 10 seconds. This is gonna go fast. It's gonna be the 20 seconds. The first 15 seconds is about 95% single arm. The last 5 seconds, half step back, double arm. All right, and go. So this should be pretty hard single arm. Still trying to accelerate through with that tempo. Again, this is more of an up-tempo thing as we do it. Keep going on the single arm. Okay, and half step back, double arm. This should be max effort right here on these double arms. All the way through. You're only gonna be able to get 3 or 4 in. Keep going, 1 more, and rest. Good, good. All right, don't walk away too much. Again, we're gonna go right through these. This is gonna be fast. All right, we're gonna do that again. Starting right now. Single arm. 95%. Up tempo. Keep doing that for 5 more seconds. Okay, half step back, double arm, go. Push hard all the way through. Make sure you're finishing all the way through there, George. And rest. Okay, we've got 1 more of those, and then a little bit of kicking, and then that's going to be it. All right, last 20-second effort. Last 20-second effort. Ready, go. Single arm. Single arm. Nice and hard here. 5 more seconds. Okay, half step back, double arm, go. Finish hard. And rest. All right, let's drop the cords, find your mats or flip over on your bench. Following the same pattern, we are gonna go 3 times, 30 seconds of kicking with a little bit of rest in between. Feel free to adjust as needed. If you're feeling it a little bit too much, maybe in the hip flexors or in your back, again, you can switch this up and do a plank instead or some other form of core exercises. But all right, here we go. That first 30 seconds begins right now. Tiny little flutter kicks, the toes pointed, legs straight, really feeling that coming from those hips. Coming from the core, those lower abs. Keep those legs nice and straight. 10 more seconds. Okay, and rest. Good, good. Nice job, everybody. We're going to go 2 more times, 30 seconds. Okay, we're going to get started here in about 5 seconds. Okay, kick number 2. Ready, go. 30 seconds of kicking. It's looking good. At least that I can see. 10 more seconds. Keep those toes pointed. Okay, and rest. Short rest, and then 1 more round, and then that will be it for the day. Kind of hitting everything up all over today. Arms and legs. Okay, 5 seconds. Okay, last round to kick. Ready, go. 30 seconds of kicking to finish it up. You can move out of the streamline position if you need to. You can put your arms under you. You can get up on your elbows. You can switch to plank. Whatever we need to do. You be the judge. Got 5 seconds. Okay, and rest. All right, nice job, everybody. I'll do this with you. This part isn't hard. I don't mind doing this part. You can shake it out a little bit. Just kind of like what we were doing in the warm-up, where just kind of twisting, moving the arms around. Give yourself some hugs here as we wrap around. Get those triceps, get those lats loosened up a little. Just make sure you're stretching that all out across the arms. Good. Yeah, going some arm circles just to keep it loose. And as you guys stretch it out, I will now kind of just as always here, kind of take this opportunity to see if anyone's got any questions about this session, about maybe one of the other band sessions that you guys are finding in the squad library or from a one-to-one coach. Could be about the bands, could be about swimming. Any questions, feel free to fire away.
This is George here. How's it going?
Good, how are you?
All right. By the way, thanks for doing this.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thanks for joining.
You're welcome. So I have the option for some open water swimming in my backyard. I live on a river. It's kind of chilly, so I'm not real enthusiastic about it. So usually my swims will won't go more than 30 minutes because I just can't tolerate it beyond that. And that's full wetsuit, hood, Vaseline, everything.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of limited in my options in the Training Peaks on open water sessions. Any suggestions on how to mix it up a little bit?
So if you're in for 30 minutes, what I would say is you got a couple different options. And this kind of similar, what I say here will apply to maybe if someone's got that 15-yard backyard pool that they just want to get in. You know, I think the biggest thing you can do right now is combining that with these sessions. These sessions are providing that strength memory for swimming. But one of the things I think that we're going to lose the most is that feel for the water. And you guys know what I mean? When you kind of get in after even taking a week off and you just feel like your arms are going through and everything just feels floppy. So I think the biggest benefit you can get out of it is, one, getting that feel and remembering what it's like to hold the water as you swim through. You know, the other thing, if it's that cold, what I would recommend is doing some shorter, faster stuff. I mean, if you go in and you just swim easy for half an hour, you're going to get cold pretty quick. So I would even suggest doing a 5-minute warm up or so, maybe a little more, hop out of the water just so you're not sitting there cold for your rest, and then start doing some kind of maybe some higher intensity, kind of get the arms moving, keep the blood flowing. And ideally, if you're able to get out and rest on the shore out of the water and then get in to do your swims, that may help you stay a little bit warmer, but obviously try to keep the heart rate up, and you just don't want to settle into anything too long. So you could even do a little mix of some easier swimming with some faster swimming.
Like sets of 20 or 30 or 40 strokes?
Yeah, exactly. I would even say you could do like 40 strokes out where you're building up, and then 40 strokes hard back in. And then that could be an interval. And then you could even mix that up maybe with some upper tempo. So like 75% where you go a little bit longer. But I think the longer you stay in, obviously, the more the cold's going to set in. And if you try to take rest while you're floating in water that cold, it's going to get chilly pretty fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I found that I'm just doing recovery swims for the rest, because sitting there, it's not deep water, so I can stand up.
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah, it'll set in. And that's something you could do too. You could go hard for 20 strokes, easy for 40 strokes, hard for 20, easy for 40. And that way you're still moving and you're keeping everything going.
okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Any other questions?
Hello, I have a question.
Sure.
I find that my neck is getting really tight, especially on my right side. I mean, I can't go to the chiropractor that I normally go to. So is there anything, other stretches or anything that you would recommend?
I mean, it's one of those, where if you can find a stretch that works, and I don't want to give you the wrong advice here on some of this stuff, but I find one is that if you kind of reach behind your back, grab on here, and you can just kind of, and then kind of just lean that neck over one way. You can kind of feel that really stretch through there a little bit. And that's one of the things when we do these stretch cord sessions is you find that we're trying to hold that position and your whole body tends to tense up. Whereas in the water, it's a little bit easier to stay fluid in the water. But if you're on here, especially, if you're on the weight bench, it's a little bit easier to kind of let your body rest on the bench and you can just focus on the arms. When we're standing and doing this, everything stays super tight. And there's not much we can do about that other than limit the tension of the time we're doing. So if maybe a minute is a little bit too long, you can cut back on the time. Or if you're doing one of the sessions that's put in and it's 60 strokes and that's a bit too much, you can cut it back to 50 or 40. And it's one of those things with the stretch cords. We tend to find that so much more through all of those areas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I couldn't help a little bit more with that, but it's just one of those things with the stretch cords. It gets tough.
That's okay. Thanks. I've been doing yoga still in certain stretches, but it's a little tight.
I know exactly. I'm sure other people do too. I know exactly the soreness and the pain you're talking about. I can relate. And I think the big thing is take the time too as we're doing these, whereas you're doing them at home. If you find that where there's that break, let's say it's 3 times 30 strokes and then there's a little bit of a rest, take the rest, take the break. There's no need to power through these and go crazy. Rest and stretch it out and take that time to really make sure you're staying loose and limber in between, and scale the sessions if you need to.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Hey, John, quick question on the kicking on our back. Is it okay to, if we put our hands under our butt or under our hips, if we're getting a little bit of low back
Yeah,
issues?
absolutely. Yeah, you know, it's one of those too. Let's aim for what's going to give you the most what's going to be the hardest. But if it's starting to hurt other things, then let's adjust. And like I said, you could be up on your elbows. You can put your hands under your butt. I mean, whatever is going to work to make it so you're able to do it, basically.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Good. All right. Any other questions? Cool. Awesome. Thank you guys for coming. I'm starting to have a lot of fun with this. I hope you guys are enjoying it, and we will be back to it on Sunday. So hopefully you guys can join us on Sunday. See you
That's
later.
great. Thanks so much.
Thanks again.
You're welcome. Thank you guys.